right, welcome to another episode of Piecing It Together, the podcast where we take a look at a new movie and try to figure out what movies inspired it. And today on the show, we are taking a look at Halloween Kills, the second entry in David Gordon Green's new Halloween reboot. And I didn't like it very much. But joining me is Halloween superfan David Michor, an old buddy of mine who I've worked with on a bunch of films over the years. And he absolutely loves this series, and he didn't like it either. But we still used this movie as a jumping off point to get into a bunch of great puzzle pieces, and we have a great conversation coming up for you. So we're going to get to that here in a second, but before we do, I want to remind you, as always, to make sure you are subscribed to Piecing It Together wherever you listen to podcasts. You can rate and review us over on Apple Podcasts or Podchaser or Good Pods, and follow us on social media at Piecing Pod. You can also join our Facebook group, Popcorn and Puzzle Pieces, where we continue the conversation about all the movies we talk about here on the show. And, we also have a Patreon, the Produced by David Rosen Patreon, where I combine bonus content from Piecing It Together, as well as Awesome Movie Year, which is another great movie podcast that I produce, and for my music career, which speaking of which, just released a new album. It is a horror film soundtrack. It's the score from a horror movie called The Dissection Table that I scored back in 2015, and then the movie just never came out. And now I'm finally able to at least release the score. And I've always been really proud of the music I did for this film. It's really creepy, really dark, perfect for getting you into the Halloween feel. So check that out. It's The Dissection Table. It is out now. So with that said, I just want to point out really quickly something that Dave Michor, my guest on the episode, mentioned to me after we finished recording. He texted me, said, "Shit, I can't believe it. I forgot to mention we are recording on Michael Myers' birthday." So, we recorded this on Michael Myers' birthday, apparently. So that's pretty damn cool. But let's get into this conversation about Halloween Kills. All right, it's been a while since he's been on the show, but my buddy David Michor is back with us. David, how's it going?
Thank you so much for having me. It is an honor and a pleasure to be here and to see your face. And congratulations on your recent nuptials.
Oh, thank you so much, man. Yeah,
So happy for you.
we're so happy to finally have it done and everything with the pandemic and all that. And we actually had to, I don't know if you know this, we had to uninvite people. Like, that's how crazy this year has been. Like, just to shrink it down for numbers' sake and everything. I mean, it's just craziness, but we're through, and now not only did we get to get married, but all these movies that got delayed are finally coming out, including the one we're talking about today, Halloween Kills, which I know you were really, really looking forward to as a big fan of this series, right?
Yeah, Halloween Kills. Man, I would have paid big money to see this movie last year when it was supposed to come out. Like I've been waiting for this movie for so long. I remember last year in the pandemic saying, if they would have offered like $200 to stream it during 2020 when it was first, I would have been like, yeah, done. Here we go. Because I'm such a huge Halloween fan. I have been my whole life. Michael Myers is the OG GOAT. And in terms of slashers and in terms of horror and in terms of my own filmmaking and all, it's everything to me. So yeah, to say I was looking forward to this movie is a huge understatement.
Right. And, not to give everything away here, but for anyone who didn't listen to my episode on the 2018 Halloween, which was also kind of a double episode with a look back at the original 1978 Halloween, I'm not that big of a fan of this series. As far as the classic slashers go, all respect to Michael, definitely hugely influential on so many horror movies that have come since, especially slasher movies. But I'm more of a Jason guy, and even then I'm Freddy above Michael as well. But
nothing wrong with that.
I get it, though. I get the appeal of these movies. I get the appeal. I just don't necessarily love them that much. But we come from different angles at this particular movie, and that's why I bring that up, because me not being such a fan, you being such a fan, and not to give it away, but we were both let down. I think.
Are we allowed to talk like spoilers? Are we allowed to just like let it
Spoil
rip?
away.
Okay.
Spoil away. Absolutely.
Yeah. So coming from a huge die hard fan, okay, I have this Michael Myers mask. I wear it all the time. If you've seen my TikToks, you've seen me around wearing it all over. Um, I was so disappointed and just so sad after I saw it. And after I saw it, I had to like, I tend to build things up a lot, like where I get like so excited where my expectations are so high that of course I'm going to be let down because I'm expecting it to be like this masterpiece. So
Sure.
I took a breath, I took a day. I was like, let me revisit this and see what I'm now I know what I'm getting myself into. Let me watch it again because I was probably just like in a different headspace. And so I watched it
Mhm.
twice. And again, after the second viewing, I could even confirm now how truly, really, really bad, just really, just bad on so many levels that this movie is. And and when we first talked about it beforehand, I said like lazy was the
Mhm.
perfect word to describe it, but now I don't agree with that. I think it was trying to do too much. It was like
Mhm.
trying to be this like epic, grandiose masterpiece, statement making, like provocative, thought provoking, like, ugh, comment,
Yeah.
social commentary BS, where like if you just like make it simpler and you go back to like the roots of like the originals, I think it would have been just dramatically better, like
Yeah.
this flashback stuff that they did was so cool. And it was just, I look at it as a wasted opportunity because you
Right.
have this awesome Loomis who looks great, who sounds great, who, by the way, is like that's all prosthetic pieces.
Right.
That's not
That is really cool that they were able to pull
really
that off at
cool.
least.
Dude, I was so worried. That was one of my biggest things I was actually worried about going in. I was like, how is that going to be? And I
Yeah.
thought Loomis looked great. He sounded great. But like the point they were making in the flashbacks of like this Hawkins storyline of the cop shooting the other cop and like and the Lonnie being bullied to explain why he was
And
a
the
bully.
execution of it all.
Yeah, like even just the writing and the acting was
Yeah.
like is this like a made for TV movie? Like is this like the TV series of Halloween? Like what am I watching right now? Like
Yeah.
it really went nowhere, and the fact that they kept going back there as this Hawkins reveal like later on, like with the cop saying, "Give me your gun, let's swap out the guns," and blah blah blah. Like what just to make this grand statement how so many lives have been affected when like come on dude, like
Right.
just stop.
I think that's an interesting point because, like, a lot of the people who did like this movie, and there are some people who are out there and are happy with Halloween Kills, and I think that they're mostly all
Hmm.
leaning into, oh, it's camp. And I'm a huge fan of *Malignant* that came out last month.
Hmm.
I think it's so much fun. That movie is camp and sticks to being camp the whole time. This movie, you're absolutely
Yep.
right. It's so heavy. It tries to add so much backstory and so much like importance to the side characters and all these things. I don't believe this really is camp. I think that there's moments where they try to have their cake and eat it too, but I don't think it really is. I think it is very self-important and serious.
Dude, totally agree. I wish it was campy. And in fact,
Yeah.
if it was more campy, then I probably would have enjoyed it. If it was just Michael going on a kill crazy rampage, just like slaughtering like, teenagers having sex in cars, I would have been so much happier.
Right.
Um, it was like this this just crazy social commentary dialogue about the madness and the chaos that Michael has done to this town that just it was just boring. It was so
Mhm.
boring. The pacing, every single shot is like slow dolly in, slow dolly out, slow motion looks, slow motion this. Like in fact, at the end, like I feel like the movie could have actually been saved. At the very end, like when like he's surrounded and like he picks up his mask and like the music's like
Yeah.
and like he picks it up and it's like you know, and I'm like, okay, here we go. He's gonna F everyone up and it's gonna be
Hmm.
beautiful and it's gonna be awesome. But instead, it goes into like another like dramatic slow montage like of him getting beat down only to then come back with just the pacing like
Yeah.
what is this, what are you
Yeah.
trying to do here, you know? And you know what, I'm happy that people do like it though, like I know a lot of diehard Halloween fans that like think it's like they think it's like the third best of like the franchise, which I just laugh at, but it actually makes me happy that they like it. You know, I want people to
Sure.
like it. I don't want it to be
Absolutely.
bad. You know, I just hate it. I yeah.
Yeah. Well, I think that's a good note to start getting into some puzzle pieces with here. What do you got for your first puzzle piece? And we'll get into plenty more about the movie along the way. But what's your first puzzle piece?
My first one's probably Halloween 4.
Okay.
Because it takes the mob of the town, you know, going after Michael. And you know, I thought it could have been done better if it was more of an homage to that.
Hmm.
Um, you know, because like in Halloween 4, the guys are like, "Come on, sheriff, you haven't done anything. Let's go get this guy." Blah blah, and it's awesome. Like the honky tonk guys in the bars coming out with shotguns. It's great. That was
Hmm.
actually good. This was not good. This, you know,
Mm.
every single scene at the hospital of them going after that mental patient and Karen on a mission to save him was like atrocious. It was like if
Yeah.
I ever watch this movie again, I'm gonna fast forward during those moments.
Yeah.
But Halloween 4 would be my first one.
Okay, right on. And I have to admit, as not a big Halloween fan, I'm sure I saw all those original sequels back in high school at least once, but I don't really, they all kind of blend together for me. But the other Halloween movie that I was going to have on my list, so we might as well include it, Halloween 2. Yep, absolutely.
Mhm.
Laurie Strode just being in a hospital the whole damn time. Um, I
Yeah,
think that
except
fits.
Halloween 2 is awesome. You know,
Right,
like
right.
Halloween 2 is great. It like the hospital is like empty, it's scary, it's
Hmm.
isolated. Michael's like roaming around through the streets of Haddonfield, going through backyards. Like, dude, Halloween 2 is awesome.
Yeah.
But yeah, you're right. You know, when I first saw the trailers and I saw Lori in the hospital, I actually got excited about seeing her in the hospital because I thought it was going to be more of an homage to Halloween 2, and instead it was
Sure.
like totally the other way. You know,
Yeah.
her putting Lori in a hospital alone doesn't just make it cool. You know.
Right. Absolutely. Before I started the movie, I was messaging with my friend Joe Black, who's been here on the show a bunch, about this movie. And then I watched it. And when it ended, the first thing I did was message him and say, did I miss an entire scene? Did Jamie Lee Curtis ever leave her hospital room? What did they do? She could have literally been like a record. She could have died and just left like a recording on someone's phone, and it would have had the same impact on the plot of this movie.
Totally. In fact, the second time I watched it, I paused the movie when she actually like is in it for real, like when she actually shows up, and that was about 53 minutes into the movie. You see her say let it burn," and then you see her getting surgery, but those don't count because there's like 1 second, and then she
Sure.
finally shows up 53 minutes into the movie. And you know what else pisses me off about this? When she
Hmm.
does show up, she's all like, "We did it. He's dead. We killed him. It's over." Come dude, who wrote this? Like, you guys are all have Halloween knowledge. Jamie Lee Curtis is a producer on the movie, and like, how did no one step in and say, Laurie Strode would never be ever be sitting there in a hospital bed saying, "We got him. It's over." Like, she would
Hmm.
need to see a body, she would need to see his ashes, she would need to piss on those ashes. Like she would never ever ever assume that Michael is dead after 40
Right.
years of being barricaded in her house. Like that alone pissed me off.
Yeah, it does not ring true whatsoever to the character or the series, whether you take into effect the sequels that don't exist now or not. Like either way, it doesn't play right to the character.
Not at all.
What do you got for your next piece?
Okay, so this one's kind of a stretch, but I'm going to say this reminds me a lot of The Last Jedi. And I say that because The Last Jedi is a big, part of a big franchise. It's part 2 of a new trilogy, and
Hmm.
and I felt the exact same way when I left the theater, where like I was like, what just happened? What just happened? These people don't know what they're doing. They clearly just now the whole thing is a mess, like, and that's the way I look at Halloween Kills. I look at it as like they look at the 2018 Halloween as this like huge success, and oh my god, David Gordon Green and Danny McBride, they are our heroes. They know what they're doing. So I feel like they just gave like 1000% trust into them, which I get.
Sure.
I get it. Like, hey man, this is your, Christopher Nolan Dark Knight trilogy. Boom, go. And like,
Yeah.
I just feel like they don't know what the heck they're doing. And like,
Hmm.
and I feel like they just tried too hard to it just turned into a whole mess of a thing where like I'm just left feeling so empty, which is how I felt with Last Jedi.
Well,
Even though
I love that
I
you.
know you like The Last Jedi, but
Yeah, and I love that you brought it up because I actually had on my list here, depending on where you fall, and we obviously fall on opposite sides of this, either The Last Jedi or Rise of Skywalker. Because to me, I thought Rise of Skywalker took all the interesting things that they were setting up with The Last Jedi and just threw them out the window because they have no idea what to do with any of it. And I
Mhm.
know that we completely disagree on those two movies, but it really kind of it's the same point either way. Whether you're going with one movie or the other, it's these people have been given the keys to this and they don't know what to do with it. And
Right,
whether that's
exactly.
J.J. Abrams or Ryan Johnson, one of them
Right.
doesn't know.
Exactly. And I remember watching The Last Jedi and being like, what a huge wasted opportunity. You could have had Luke Skywalker and Kylo Ren have like a epic lightsaber duel that rivaled
Hmm.
like Anakin and Obi-Wan. And instead, Luke is like manifesting that he's there, and he's on a rock and then he vanishes. And I was like, what? And that's the way I look at this. Like, okay, we're gonna go back to 1978. We're gonna see how Michael Myers was captured because we don't know how he got incarcerated after Loomis saw him disappear off of the balcony. So,
Right.
what an awesome opportunity to show him get captured. And instead, they do this whole thing about Hawkins shooting a cop and oh my god, and how does Michael get captured? He just walks out of his house and stands there. Now, I get it. That was cool. That was an homage to him as a kid walking out after killing his sister and being greeted by his parents. So that was the homage there, but it didn't work. It was not good enough. And also, why are you showing flashbacks from other movies and showing a flashback of Lonnie? Oh my God, I have to bring this up. This angers me so much. So they shot a new scene of Lonnie on the sidewalk and Michael walking up to him, right?
Sure. Yeah.
That was his encounter. He encountered Michael in the original 1978 movie after bullying Tommy Doyle at school, and then Lonnie runs off the playground literally into Michael's arms, and you get that awesome sting effect, the bah! And he
Hmm.
like holds him there for a second and lets him go. Why are we now shooting a new scene of Lonnie being encountered by Michael? What, just to show that he was getting bullied too, to explain why he was a bully? Like we don't want to show him coming from a bullying scene? Like
Hmm.
why? Why? That scene is so awesome from the original movie. They could have shown that instead. And so that just felt weird to me and it
Yeah.
and it pissed me off.
It's a weird choice for people that clearly have so much reverence for the original to
Yeah.
like to undo or redo a certain like part of that story. Like it's a weird choice.
Yeah, and like Michael walks up to Lonnie on the sidewalk and then he hides and then looks and he's gone. Like, so
Hmm.
that was your encounter with him? Really?
Yeah.
Like, dude, like that's why I'm saying instead of lazy, they're trying too hard. They're trying
Yeah.
so hard
Yeah.
to throw back so much and create new stuff, and it just didn't work, man. It didn't work. It did not
Yeah.
work at all.
Well, I'll go ahead onto another puzzle piece since I kind of combined Rise of Skywalker with your Last Jedi there. I'm going to go with another classic horror movie series that had a recent entry that was kind of divisive, and that is Alien Covenant. I looked at this in kind of a similar way in that they're both movies with interesting ideas. I definitely like Covenant much better than Halloween Kills, but both with interesting new ideas about different things than the original movie. With this one, we're kind of sort of on the edge of trying to look at the trauma that this town has endured and what it does to all the people within the town, but not really getting anywhere with that. Whereas Alien Covenant gets into these interesting ideas about creators and who your maker is and all that kind of stuff. But both of them bogged down by the fact that they have to be a new entry in this series. Alien Covenant bogged down by the fact that all these dumb people have to get killed by the xenomorph. Here, all these dumb people have to get killed by Michael Myers. And so that kind of throws the ideas that they're trying to get into out the window in order to just have that, mainstream big budget horror movie thing.
Yeah, totally. And you know what? Like everyone's talking about the body kill being high in this one, and I want to say that I thought they were so very few and far between. I was
Mhm.
like, okay, I'm gonna kill a couple people here, and then I'm gonna kill a couple people here, and then I'm gonna kill a couple people here. It was not like this, like, okay, Halloween Kills has to live up to its title, bigger, badder, meatier, like that they said it was gonna be. It's
Yeah.
just how I feel. But I totally agree on the Alien Covenant puzzle piece. That's a good one. Another one I
Yeah.
would like to say is Frankenstein. um,
Absolutely.
just because
Yes.
Michael he did not feel like Michael in this. He felt very robotic. He felt even like when he kills the nurse in the car, just like goes up to her and ba 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 ba, and the very end, just ba 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 ba. Like
Yeah.
there's something missing, and I don't want to say like a human element because I know Michael's like pure evil, but like the essence of Michael is missing. Like he's not in it that much, and you don't like get any really like long like shots of him like looking or moving and stuff. Like I felt like they needed more of him, and we barely saw him. And when you did, he was like a robot Frankenstein, and it pissed me off.
Yeah. Yeah, I wish I had written down who it was, but there was a review of this movie that talked about how inconsistent his killings are, where sometimes he's just a machine
Hmm.
just killing people, and sometimes he seems to be having a little bit of fun with it, more like a Jason type, not really a Michael type. And I
Hmm.
thought that was an interesting point that there's really no consistency to the way that he kills people. So I think that kind of plays into there as well. And then, of course, the townsfolk, all banding together, it's turning into a riot kind of situation. That's also classic Frankenstein, too. So definitely
Oh
Frankenstein
yeah,
fits.
yeah, yeah. Totally, totally.
I'm going to actually jump in on top of your Frankenstein there. Another one that kind of just perfectly goes together. I thought of both South Park and The Simpsons in various episodes where the situation turns into a riot, basically, where all the townspeople all want to get together and kill or stop or fight whatever the situation of that particular episode is. And it's a thing that's come up in many episodes over the years, but they all turn into a big rabbling crowd and everybody's so dumb and ridiculous and it just kind of goes off the deep end. That seems to be the build of this movie for the crowd to just go nuts.
Yeah. Man, I wish the ending was better though. I wish the build was painful enough where the ending was a big enough payoff, but
Yeah.
man, I'm just left so like just like ugh at the
Yeah.
end, And
Well, I think part of it is Anthony Michael Hall as Tommy Doyle sucks. I think he's just a really bad leader.
he actually didn't bother me.
Okay.
Surprisingly, like what's funny though was like it felt like it was his movie, right? Like
Sure.
um
Yeah.
Jamie Lee Curtis even like in marketing purposes was like, Halloween 2018 was Laurie's movie and Halloween Kills is Michael's movie. And when I heard that, I was like, hell yeah, nice. Dude, this is totally Tommy Doyle's movie. He feels
Definitely.
like it's his story. He's the main character. We follow him the most. And that's not, it's just, yeah, really bad decision making on their part. However, Anthony Michael Hall did not bother me. And I did hear
Okay.
they tried to get Paul Rudd,
Hmm.
but that he couldn't because of scheduling conflicts. I don't know if that's a rumor or if that's true. I really hope it's true because that would have been really, really cool.
Yeah, that would be
Um,
an interesting cast.
I will say that like this whole new timeline. I know there's so many timelines in the franchise and it's a mess. And this one and they had to do a new take by saying it only follows the original and they're not brother and sister. But I have to
Hmm.
just get this off my chest. It bothers me. I don't think it works as well, them not having a connection. I look at Halloween Kills now as like I was hoping to get like maybe some new insight into this new timeline, but really it's making it even more of a convoluted mess because Michael is just he just randomly is going after people and just wants to go home. Okay.
Right.
So he goes home and then they lure him out and then he kills everyone and now he goes back home. And now what? Like, I did like that they explained how he wasn't after Lori and that the doctor brought him to her house. That made me less angry. But in all, there's no motive really. Like the brother sister connection to me is special. It's cool. It ties it back to Judith. It makes him like, I gotta go after Lori. This is my mission. Like that to me makes more sense and it's better. But I have to just say, I don't like this new timeline. It's annoying. It's annoying.
It'll be really interesting to see if they're able to tie it together somehow with this final one next year, and especially whether they really make Laurie more of the main character. Because I mean,
Oh yeah,
if
they have to.
if they don't, they've completely missed the opportunity of a lifetime with this trilogy.
You know what they should have done with this? If they really wanted to just make Lori a back character, they should have made it all about her granddaughter and like the boyfriend and their younger friends
Mhm.
going after Michael in the streets and their friends being picked off in the streets of Haddonfield. That I would have been okay with. There would have been more campy. It would have been more about Michael and more simple and more fun, like
Mhm.
get me out of that hospital, please. And every single scene of Karen, like, oh, now Karen's on a mission to save this other mental patient. I'm not going to let anything happen to you. Bitch, your daughter is out there right now trying to hunt down Michael Myers. Why do you care about this random mental patient? Like,
Uh-huh.
ugh, so bad.
So many bad choices, man.
Oh,
Uh,
so bad.
so do you have any more puzzle pieces?
One random one, and this, I
Mhm.
don't know, you could take it or leave it, but I don't know why I think of Signs when
Okay.
Tommy Doyle is in the bar and you see the bat and like they made such a big deal about this bat and then Tommy like hears that it's Michael and he turns and he looks at the bat on the wall and it goes in on the bat. And I just kept thinking of like that moment in Signs when Joaquin takes the bat off the wall, to swing
Yeah.
away, which I love, So, take it or leave it. It's a stretch, but I could not help but think about it during
I
that.
like it. Yeah, no, that's a good one to include here. Also, the small town feel and everything like that. So, it definitely fits in with the vibe of the movie, I think. I have two more, although one of them is kind of just repeating the same themes. That would be The Purge, which I think
Yeah.
this feels like The Purge meets the Halloween series. So, I mean,
Yeah, totally.
yeah, you could kind of just gloss over that one, even though it definitely fits. But my last real one here is also kind of a stretch, but I wanted to include it anyway. And we've already been talking about this, about how Jamie Lee Curtis is, barely in this movie, and even though she's all over the marketing for the movie, the advertising, the trailer, the posters, everything. And I thought of those direct-to-video action movies starring Bruce Willis or Nick Cage or John Travolta, where they're not even in the movie. They're in like one scene, and then the rest of it is focused on
Totally.
completely other characters. And this, even though it's a major, big budget, like blockbuster movie, and it did huge numbers, not that
Mhm.
is a sign of those other kind of movies, because they never make any
Mhm.
money, but it's still, this is a big movie. It's crazy that they would do that versus, those are usually just direct to video schlocky movies, but it's the same kind of thing. The main star is not in the movie, but they put them all over the
Well,
advertising.
it's smart, it's
Yeah,
smart. That's and let me tell you, the just the marketing behind it alone, talking about how it was all about Michael and how it was bigger, badder, bloodier, was so smart. It was all false. None
right.
of it was true. But they sold the shit out of this movie, and they did a great job. And you know what? I'm happy that um, it's making so much money because I never want Michael to go away. I never want Halloween's to ever go away. I'm
Sure.
excited for Halloween ends. I'm still, these are still my bread and butter, and I love them so much. And I'm excited to see how it ends with this one, and then I'm excited for a new timeline
Right.
down the line. And what I want to do after I make the last October,
Hmm.
and then get a little bit out there, a little bit. I know I won't be able to, but man, to bring Danielle Harris back, who's the
Mm.
little girl who plays Jamie in Halloween 4 and 5, and to do a continuation of her story from 4 and 5 would be so awesome. Um,
Oh
so
yeah.
I know I'm not the only one that's thinking that. I know I'm not like breaking the mold here, but that would be a new, fresh take down the line that they could do to revisit this franchise again. Because honestly, I think after this next one, I think Jamie Lee might be done. I see her
Sure.
character going out with Michael. I mean, Halloween. It's called Halloween Ends. So
Yeah.
I don't even see Lori surviving the next one. I think her and Michael are both gonna go together. She even makes one little line in Halloween Kills that's like, I'm she says I forget what she says. She makes a little line about how I'm gonna have to die with him, something.
Mm.
And I think that's foreshadowing what we're gonna see in Halloween Ends. But I
Yeah.
hope I'm glad it's a huge success. It makes me happy. It makes me happy that people love it. Like
Yeah.
I want Halloweens to go on forever.
Absolutely. Halloween Forever.
bring bring
That'll be the next
Bring
reboot.
Josh Hartnett back. Let's do a Josh Hartnett timeline. Let's do that. You know what I mean? Like, there's so many different things you could
I
do.
love it. I love it. Well, I'll go ahead and do the finished puzzle and list down all the things we just talked about, and then we'll get into some closing thoughts here. We talked about Halloween 4 and Halloween 2. Of course, the whole Halloween series we talked about a little bit. Also, The Last Jedi and Rise of Skywalker, Alien Covenant, Frankenstein, South Park, The Simpsons, Signs, The Purge, and those direct-to-video Bruce Willis, Nick Cage action movies that they're never actually in. We kind of were already getting into those closing thoughts there, but did you have any other things you wanted to kind of bring up before we wrap it up?
You know, I could appreciate the kills in this movie. I could appreciate Michael's brutal force. I do like when he drills the kid on the stairs. But I have to say, this whole movie was just one big convoluted mess of a disappointment, and
Yeah.
I have to rank it. If I'm gonna rank this in my Halloween universe, I'm gonna rank it right at the tail end, right next to Halloween Resurrection and right next
Hmm.
to Rob Zombie's Halloween 2. I look at it as like not as bad as those, but
Hmm.
it'll be the next one in line because it's just a bad movie, and it
Mm.
even looks bad. It looks like there's a bad Instagram filter over the entire thing, and even like the like wide shots of like his house and stuff like that. Like it looks like a set. It looks like I'm like on set looking at them filming it. It just is. There's
Right.
something. It's just weird, man. The whole thing is weird, and so anyway, That's it. And, I love Michael. I love Halloween. I hope they never stop making them. And I'll probably watch it a couple more times anyway, just to be honest, since I
Yeah,
can't
I'm
from my
sure.
couch.
Yeah.
No, I will say the 1978 mask was also top notch. Loved the 1978 mask of Michael too. I thought they did a great job with that.
Yeah, I thought the flashback scenes, while maybe not necessary, were at least well done. So I mean that's it looks
Yeah, I
like
don't
it
know if they
was
were well done. I don't know if they were well done. I just know that the mask
stylized
looked good
well.
and Loomis looked good. Yeah, everything else
Yeah,
was terrible.
yeah. That's fair. Absolutely. Only other thing I was gonna say, Big John and Little John were kind of the standouts for me. They were fun,
Yeah,
but
they were fun.
yeah,
They were the most fun thing in the whole thing. Were them.
yeah,
Yeah, for sure.
awesome.
For
Well, I
sure.
think that does it. I think we said our piece about Halloween Kills, and we'll see what happens next year. But Dave, is there another movie you watched recently or show that you'd like to recommend?
Recently, I just watched the new Chucky series, and I was surprised with it being on Sci-Fi, how many f-bombs were dropped in there. I mean, that like made it for me. Like, you can't have
Nice.
like Chucky or Freddy without like some good swearing. You know what I mean? And
Sure.
like,
Yeah.
and so I thought when I was going into it, I was like, oh, this will be cute. This will be cool. But it's not going to feel like a Chucky, part of that, series. And when he starts like swearing and dropping F-bombs, I was like, damn, okay, this is cool. So
All
it's kind of
right.
like when you watch like the Live Free or Die Hard unrated version, and John
Hmm.
McClane finally starts saying fuck, and you're like, oh, this actually sounds and feels like a Die Hard movie again. Cool. So yeah, check it out. It's not bad.
I've heard good things. I heard it's a lot of fun, so maybe I'll check that out one of these days. But awesome. This was fun as always. Dave, tell people what you got going on. If anything you want to plug.
Oh man, well, what I've got going on can't be plugged right now, but I'm working on developing a feature called The Last October. I'll let you know how that goes, but you could find me dancing around in my Michael Myers vintage outfit on TikTok at Albert's Bucket List.
Awesome. We will all be checking that out for sure. I'm always happy to see you and Albert out there doing your stuff. So that's awesome, and
Yeah.
I'm very happy to get you back on the show. So thanks for being
Oh,
here.
dude, huge honor and pleasure. Thank you so much for having me. Awesome.
Hey, hey! Are you that weird one in your friends group that loves to watch true crime documentaries? Have you ever wanted to learn more about the lesser known crimes? And are you fascinated with ghost stories? I'm Hannah, the creator, editor, and host of Murder Bucket, a podcast that talks about, get this, murders, paranormal activity, abductions, kidnappings, and weird stuff. Join me every Tuesday wherever you listen to podcasts to get the inside scoop on some of the most interesting topics in the true crime world. I am also very active on social media. You can find me on Instagram at MurdBucket, Facebook at BucketMurd, and Twitter at The Murder Bucket.
All right. So I hope you enjoyed that conversation about Halloween Kills. Hopefully, Halloween Ends when it comes out next year does a little bit more justice to the Halloween series for people who aren't fans like myself and people who are super fans like Dave Michor. But thanks to Dave Michor for being here, and I hope you all enjoyed that conversation. If you have any puzzle pieces you think we might have missed out on, certainly get in touch and let us know. You can, of course, tweet at me at PiecingPod. Join our Facebook group, Popcorn and Puzzle Pieces, where we continue the conversation about all the movies we talk about here on the show. You could even just email me directly, bydavidrosen@gmail.com. I always love hearing from people. Plus, if you're ever interested in being on Piecing It Together, I am always looking for new guests to join me and talk about movies and figure out puzzle pieces. So that does it for today's show. Make sure you're subscribed. Make sure you rate and review. Check out the Patreon. all that good stuff. Let's close this thing out with a piece of music, right? That's what I always do. I am going to mention again to check out my new album, The Dissection Table, especially if you like horror movies, if you like horror film scores, if you like John Carpenter, if you like any of this kind of stuff, I think you might dig this new album, The Dissection Table. It's on Spotify if you want to stream it. It's on iTunes or Bandcamp if you want to buy it. And there was also a special bonus episode of Piecing It Together a couple of weeks ago where I played the whole album in its entirety. So you could also listen to it that way. So check it out. Would love to know what you think of the album. Of course, I always want to know what you think of the show, but check out the album too. I could close out the show with a track from that, but you know what? I'm actually going to dig up a piece of music here from one of the films I worked on with the guest for this episode, David Michor. David, of course, is a film director, and that's how I know him. We've worked together on a bunch of films together, a bunch of short films. And this is from a horror film that we worked on together called The Hoarder. So this is a piece of the score of this short film. I may eventually combine a bunch of pieces of music from various films that I worked on into a compilation album of film music, kind of like what I did with the Dissection Table, although more of a compilation from a bunch of different films. And this would definitely end up on it. So this is from the film The Hoarder, and I hope you enjoy it, and we'll be back with more Piecing It Together real soon.
An All Points West production, produced by David Rosen in Las Vegas.